clinic. They want to run a second clinic on September 30th at the rec center. So
We're moving that. Oh, big room. Is it working out?
it'll be in the big room, but there'll be things like
People coming in and out.
there'll be things coming in and out, like rope, you're gonna be moving in that week, right?
And I have stuff scheduled that day.
Okay, well, let's get back to work there.
Wait.
We have a report from closed session.
So the report out from closed session is that West Dublin Council gave consideration and provided direction to staff on matters pertaining to identifiable individuals and a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land.
Okay, that's it.
Yes, do you want to move in second back?
Yeah, we need a little bit second for that person, Cameron and Lisa, all in favor? Very. Certainly in, just a reminder to disclose any pecuniary interest through our open council meeting. I have a recommendation here that the minutes of the council meeting on August 19th, 2021 be adopted as circulated and printed and over and seconded by Rowe and Lisa, all in favor? Carried.
So you don't need to talk a little louder because we don't have the microphones together.
Okay, I can try that. That was carried, yes, any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none, we'll move on to staff reports. Do you want to go to Brian first? He's on the screen. All right, Brian, planning, we have a few severances coming forward here.
Sure. Just let me get the agenda package open here and up on the planning files here. So the first planning report that I have on the docket here is for severance application E67-21. So an application has been filed by Ed DeWild on behalf of the owner, John Lamb, to create a surplus farm dwelling on the property located at 20183 Marsh Line. The intent is to sever off the existing house and amenity space, and the retained lands would be then added and consolidated with the lands to the west of the property that is also owned by the applicant, Ed DeWild. So approximately it's 2 acres for the separate parcel. The retained lands are approximately 32.6 acres to be added with the lands next door to the west. So from a planning perspective, it meets the PPS, the county official plan and local official plan for West Elgin. The severance, the dwellings has been in existence for over 10 years. That qualifies all the criteria within there. It captures all on-site services for the proposed, for the existing house. There's no livestock facilities or anything on the severed parcel, and has been rationalized accordingly. So with that said, as part of the process, the property is zoned A1. The severed parcel in future would have to be rezoned to a restricted agricultural A3 zone due to the size of the severed parcel. The retained parcel would be an A1 zone. It would stay in the A1 zone because it'd be amalgamated with property to the west that doesn't have a house on it today. So there would be no need to freeze those farmlands in this instance due to the amalgamation with the existing parcel to the west. So, with that said, the drainage department did note that the subject lands are within the 3 municipal drains that are affected. So reassessment processes would be required for reapportionment accordingly. Utilities noted that there's no issues of concern because we don't have any municipal water or sewer out there, obviously. Public Works also noted if you need a new entrance for the farm access, an entrance permit would be required off of the marsh line. The intent is for the farmer to amalgamate it with the lands to the west, so no additional access would be required. their end. So with that said, it's planning staff opinion that this farm dwelling creation for a surplus farm dwelling meets the intent of the planning documents and recommends that it be approved or subject to providing those comments to the land division committee so that the application can be considered before it and express the municipality's interests through these comments. I do note that the application is scheduled for a public hearing on September 22nd, 2021 at the Elgin County Land Division Committee meeting. So with that, the report does have the severance sketch shown on Appendix 1, showing the severed parcel for council's information. And the second page also shows the retained lands and how it's to be joined with the adjacent farmlands. And Appendix 2 of the report is the details of the conditions that I've suggested as supporting the application from the municipality's perspective. So with that, if any members of council have any questions with this report, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. I guess that I'll read the recommendation, and if council has any questions, we can answer it at that time. We have a recommendation that West Ottawa Council hereby receives the royalty report from Brian Pierce regarding the severance application file E6721 comments to the County of Elgin planning report from 2126, and the West Ottawa Council hereby recommends approval of the land division committee of the County of Elgin for severance application file E6721 subject to the lower tier municipal conditions in Appendix 2 of this report, and further that West Ottawa Council directs administration to provide this report as municipal comments to County of Elgin. Also, have any questions on this? Yes, Mike?
The first question I have is, what is the reason to require a water well on the retained portion when there isn't no dwelling on the retained portion, and the severed portion doesn't rely on a well right now on the retained portion? So that's on your list of recommendations, the point.
Yep. So through you, Mayor, to Councillor Rowe's question, that is probably a typo on my part. I should have said the severed parcel. So I will make that note on condition 5 there to change the retained to severed so that it's providing added clarity. Thanks for the catch.
Okay, and my other question to the chair is, there is a land purchase that is yet to occur, and is that a requirement of this severance?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Rowe's question, it is a requirement of the severance. So if we look at the suggested conditions, if we look at condition 8, it requires the retained parcel to be transferred to the purchasing farmer as part of the farm consolidation with abutting lands to the west as part of this process. So we would be getting an undertaking to that effect for it to occur. So that's how that's achieved.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? Okay, Brian, I see that we've returned back to what our traditional way of granting surplus farm severances. In this case, that the application is by the potential purchaser, and I think that that's the way that I have always seen surplus dwellings go here. So I'm glad to see we've done that. The traditional way of applying for severances. I know it's a little hard of hearing, but everything is good. So we have the recommendation. Mover and seconder for the recommendation. Moved by Collier, seconded by Cameron. All in favor? And that's carried. We'll move on to the next item, Brian.
Great. Yeah, I can get into the second planning report then if we want to keep on that schedule. Just let me pull that one up here. So the second planning report on your council agenda on page 40 of the docket I see is severance application E6821. And the purpose of this report is again to authorize comments to the Land Division Committee of Elgin County to represent municipal comments on the application. Again, it's to facilitate another lot creation for a surplus farm dwelling that is part of a farm consolidation process within our agricultural area. So the applicant is Dan McKillop. He's authorized by the landowner, which is Pioneer Hay Sales Limited. And we're talking about the property 21934 Johnson Line within our jurisdiction. So that's just about a mile to the west of Furniville Road on the north side of the county road there. For this property. So again, the severance is approximately 1.5 acres in size of the surplus farm dwelling house, and the retained parcel is 64.7 acres. There is a proposed easement to address the water line and water well location that is in the farm field currently. And there's another easement requested also to address the underground hydro line between to get service into the existing house, recognizing the existing situation. Again, the public hearing is scheduled for September 22nd at the Land Division Committee meeting. So again, the planning documents have been analyzed in the report. I won't get into that level of detail with council here today, but as part of the process, there will be a rezoning condition that needs to be done as well. The separate parcel will have to be rezoned because of its size and limited frontage to the street. So we'll have to go through a rezoning exercise with council should this be approved in future. And also the retained parcel would have to be rezoned to prohibit a single detached dwelling on it as a result of the surplus farm dwellings. Because in this instance, they don't own adjacent lands like the De Wilds, and they would have to freeze these farmlands from allowing a house on it to meet planning policies. So this was circulated with the departments as well. There is a municipal drain affected by this, so reassessment and apportionment would be required because it's in its drainage area. No municipal utilities out in this location in our agricultural area. Septic system is being addressed through the building permit process. So they'll require a new permit for a new septic system on the property. And it can be addressed as conditions of severance as well. So with that said, it's my opinion that the proposed surplus farm dwelling lot creation for consent would appear to be consistent with the planning documents, subject to the zoning bylaw relief process that would happen in the future, and recommends that council recommend to the county that this be approved, subject to the conditions in the report. So again, walking council through that. Appendix 1 shows the severance sketch. It's a keyhole type lot. You'll see the easements identified on there as well for the water line and the hydro easements that's suggested. And the second page of the sketch shows the overall farmlands in relationship to the severed lot. And appendix 2 of the report is suggested conditions of severance again on that. So yeah, if council has any questions, please let me know.
Okay, well, I'll read the recommendation again, and then we'll get to questions. Recommendation: West Ogden Council hereby receives a report from Brian Pierce regarding the severance application file E6821, comments to the County of Ogden Planning 2021-27, and that West Ogden Council hereby recommends approval to the land use committee of the county of Elgin for the severance application file E6821, subject to the lower tier municipal conditions in appendix 2 of this report, and further that West Ogden directs administration to provide this report as municipal comments to the county of Elgin. Any questions from council?
Just wondered if the dwelling on the severed parcel has been recently habited. I guess I was thinking just in terms of the water well that's on the severed or the retained portion, whether it's providing water at the present time, and has there been any issues in terms of runoff into that well and so forth?
Yeah, thanks for your question there, Bonnie. The existing house, as far as I know, my knowledge base of going by there is occupied. It's a relatively new dwelling in comparison to our other older building stocks that are out there. I'm trying to recollect exactly when that was built. But I know it was in the last, I think maybe it was in the late 80s or 90s from what I recall when that house was built. So as to issues of concern on water quality, I know they've got a well test done as part of their submission by Public Health Ontario that came back clean. So I'm not too sure anecdotally if there has been other issues in the past on it, but they have demonstrated that they have potable water through the process. So, and they plan on recognizing the existing well and water line servicing the house through that easement shown on that sketch.
Add to that, Bonnie, Ryan's right. I believe it was that house was probably built in the 90s. The situation is in that particular area is not so much concerned about the quality of the water, it's the concern about the water period. And that seems to be the sweet spot that they were able to get good water out of that well, and thus it needs to go with the drawing. So it is as it should be. Any other questions? Yes, Angela?
Through the chair, normally when we sever these, there's a farm entrance that has to be put in. So when I look at the sketch, I'm not seeing a farm entrance. Can you clarify that there is a separate farm entrance from the residential parcel? And just don't see it on the sketch.
Great question. Thank you for the question, Councillor. With regards to the farm entrance, it's recognized through the process that there is an existing farm entrance on the property, just to the east of the existing house driveway for farm field access. And Johnson Line is a county road, so that would be evaluated by the county transportation department should they wish to look for improvements for farm access through that process. You'd go through a county entrance permit process.
Any other questions? None, mover and seconder. Lisa and Rowe, all in favor? That is carried. Is that it for you, Brian?
That is it for planning items on today's docket. Thank you.
Jeff has joined, sir.
Jeff is here. All right. Morning, Jeff.
Good
Jeff.
morning. Good morning, Mayor and Council.
Okay. We will look back in the agenda. Okay. We do have a report here. West Ogden Council hereby receives the report from Jeff McCarthy, Fire Chief, RE, August monthly fire report for information purposes. I want to add to that, Jeff. Anything you want to highlight?
No, your worship, well, I guess I will highlight just the training that went on. We're back to a regular, I guess you could call it a regular training schedule, and had some outside training as well, including a couple of firefighters that went up to Innisfil, and they were up there for 8 days straight, and that was during that real hot couple weeks there in August. So talked to a couple of them, they had a great experience. So I'm glad they were able to make it up. It was actually a rescheduled course that was postponed due to COVID from 2020. So I'm glad we got a couple of them through that. So nothing else to add at this time.
Okay. I see we're getting a lot of alarms. Is that got to do with hot weather?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of factors. There was a couple of those were, and maybe half of those were actually at a school or a couple of the schools. So I think there was maybe some weather issues there, along with some, I'll call it year startup maintenance issues. So it's often a lot of residential alarms, but this month we actually had a few alarms at the schools. So kind of keep an eye on that as we usually do.
Also, any questions for Jeff? Seeing none, do I have a mover and seconder for the report? Moved by Rowe, seconded by Tully, all in favor? That is carried. Anything else for Jeff? Madam Clerk? No? Very good. All right, we'll let you get back to your day then.
Thank you, council. Have a great day.
Okay, I have West Island Council hereby receives the report from Lee Gosling, Manager Operation Community Services for information purposes. Lee.
Well, good morning. This is just your monthly operations update for August 2021 for the various outside departments. So if there's any questions from that report, I'd be happy to answer them. Nobody's ever said that to me before.
Hi, Amber.
Through the chair, so I noticed that we were able to run soccer this year, and that's fantastic. Do you have an indication of how many of our young residents participated in soccer this year versus previous years?
I don't have an exact number, but I know that they were quite happy with the registration, and I can certainly get a number for you and provide that next week.
Okay.
We plan on doing, we're just getting things wrapped up at the pool, but there'll be kind of a year-end report or an update report on how we did the pool this year.
Okay.
Probably for next council.
Great. You answered my question.
Hi. Oh, yes.
Just trying to question revenue from the soccer.
Excellent. We'll put that back into the park. So, perfect.
Hi.
Yeah, I just wanted to, just a minor comment about the flower baskets in West Thorn. I noticed in our accounts that the charges for that were 1,084, and we had budgeted 1,500. I guess my personal preference would have liked to see larger baskets, and I just wondered how those were ordered or who ordered them, and was there a way that we could maybe have a little show your.
This is West Lauren you're speaking of. So we can certainly bring that up with Bass Franks, but the supplier of the baskets this year for West Lauren was the same supplier as last year, and supposedly the same baskets were ordered. So with different types of flowers, the way we've been doing this is that the local horticultural society has been allowed to choose the flower type and color.
Oh, did they? Okay.
So it was the West Lauren Horticultural Society provided us with the information of what they wanted in the baskets, and we forwarded that to Mass Franks, and they supplied those baskets, and then the municipality paid for them. So we can certainly bring that up with the provider, but we, like I said, that was their choice of flower type and color.
I just had people asking me who had provided them and made some suggestions, so the Horticultural Society would be the group they could go to with suggestions.
We actually had a resident from another municipality wanting to know if we would provide them baskets next year. Because they prefer our signs and our baskets.
Grass is always greener.
Personal preference, I guess.
Some
Yes.
flowers hang down and some don't.
Grassa.
Yeah, this isn't a question, more of a comment and some great feedback. The residents on McMillan Line have been texting me and calling me, letting me know that they really are happy with the way the shoulders are being maintained and how the road is being maintained this year and last year to previous years. So kudos to the staff. I just wanted to pass that along.
Thank you.
You did it different this year with a different piece of equipment.
We, this year for the shoulders, we've had a real issue on some of the county roads with, weeds and grass, especially with summers like this with a lot of rainfall. The shoulder stays, it doesn't dry out, it stays moist underneath and all that stuff comes up through. And if we go through with the grader and grade that green, all that green, it just falls up and it makes an utter mess. So we employed a new technique this year. It's a berm remover or retriever that we can pull behind the tractor, and we basically kind of disked it. We went over the shoulders, rolled it all to break that up and let it dry out, knocked it around a couple times, and then we made our pass with the grader, and it does a lot nicer job. And hopefully we're going to see some benefit with that stuff. Well, there's two benefits. It chops it up, hopefully kills some of that vegetation, but it also brings back that gravel that's just beyond the edge of the shoulder where the grader wouldn't normally reach out and grab that because you're pulling all those weeds and stuff in. Whereas this is a tool that can be used. It brings that gravel, that extra gravel that's kind of gone beyond where we want it. It brings that back and it incorporates it too. So it's actually a tool that we'll probably use, or that we have used. We have tried it on the gravel roads as well in the spring before the grass starts actively growing, like kind of at the tail end of winter. We can go along and we can remove those berms, so it gives good water flow off the edge of the road. And with gravel at $18 or $19 a ton now, it doesn't take long to, you can recoup 50 or 100 tons of gravel over the whole municipality. It pays for itself pretty quick. So.
I guess on the other side of the coin, I've got concerns about that hump that's created on the shoulder of the road. That's some people have some concerns about that. Yeah, it's kind of there, it's off the road, and go over that hump. Explain to them, that's unfortunately part of the maintenance process. That we have to look at. Like I say, for every ring that we have, okay. Did you want to talk about the arena now?
Or other board report if you want.
Okay, we'll leave it. We'll leave it for now.
Just quickly, I guess, so to answer Angela's first question, soccer registration for this year was 310.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the? Oh, I just have one. The road closed. Is Springville Road still a closed road? They're closed road.
They just haven't removed the signs
Oh,
or what?
Well, no, there's one sign that's going coming in from the north side of Rodney that says that the road is closed.
Yeah.
And the south, it's down, it's over on its side, but the one at the other end, I understand, is still the Springville Road is closed.
The last.
well, I can bring that up. I can forward that to GM Blue Plan and Van Buren.
Well, I think it's just something that the locals all know that Springville Road is open, but if you're not from here, you come up and you see that the road closed, and then you send people off odd directions. So that's just something that you'll check into.
I can follow up with that.
Okay, Have a mover and seconder for the report, moved by Angela, seconded by Teresa, all in favor, and that is carried.
So we're moving on to my report. It's the amendment to the fire officer CEMC agreement. Basically, Central Alberta has decided to join the rest of the county, so we have to amend the agreement.
That's a good thing. Okay,
Do you want me to read it, sir, the resolution?
sure, go ahead.
The West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Janet Nethercott Clerk, re-amendment to the Fire Training Officer CEMC agreement with the County of Elgin, and that the proposed bylaw approving the amending agreement be approved in the bylaw portion of the agenda, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the above-mentioned agreement and any additional documents, if required, to take effect or give effect to the agreement.
Okay, mover and seconder. Teresa's moving it. I see your hand. Moved by Teresa, second by Richard. All in favor? You got a question? Yeah, sure, sorry.
I just noticed, and I know it's not your agreement, but there is a weird typo on page 3 where it says, instead of municipality, it says Ms. Foley.
Okay, I'll let the county know.
I don't know who Ms. Foley is, but
Probably-
anyway, and I did have a question with regard to whether the CMHC was still meeting with the emergency management team.
We haven't had an emergency management, emergency control meeting in a while, emergency group. I am meeting with him next week to go over, myself and Dunwich, about the possibility of our exercise, because we are required to still do an exercise this year. They let us go off of it last year, but this year we are required. So yeah, he's in contact with us every time, you know. But otherwise, we haven't had an emergency control group meeting. There hasn't been any major changes.
I think the council, they had one scheduled here this last couple of weeks, and they did cancel it. I think the one before that, there was no participation.
Yeah, even the counties, yeah, they're not really.
Okay, we've had that moved and seconded and all questions answered. All in favor? Gary? Magda, CEO Treasurer's Administration Monthly Update.
So, my report, actually, this report was prepared as such, it was heavily involved with the plans, future plans for the National Day, which would be
Well, on our monthly report, I guess.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's just our monthly stats reports with the call manager and things like that. If you have any questions, let us know.
Are there questions? Fine.
You always look at me first.
Well, it saves my head from,
There was, a question, I wanted to comment on the newsletter tax bill. That was really well done. Looked great, lots of info. That was really super. On the other hand, the voting survey copy that went in the mail, that was not clear at all. I know that it was just a copy of what the online survey was, but there was no instructions for how to return it or
That-
complete it, or even how to go online to complete it. So that was,
That was originally supposed to go in the tax bill, and it was already printed and ready to go when we realized it couldn't be inserted in the tax bill. So instead of printing it, changing it and reprinting it, we just did it as an unaddressed ad mail. And I do take that, I will take that hit because it should have, it didn't have a lot of instructions in it for that.
so in the tax bill, it said something about how to fill it out.
Originally, the insert did, and then we took that out.
Mm.
Just because it was, yeah, unfortunately, it just came out at the last minute to money. It was gonna cost us too much money to send it in the tax bill.
So through the chair, I can say that I honestly have not received the OSP survey on unaddressed admin in my Google area. Nope,
Okay, yes.
It was sent up Friday.
nope, I checked my mail yesterday, I haven't got it, so,
Because I hadn't heard from people that have, and we've had 8 dropped off at the municipality.
I just want to clarify that it went to everybody, because I know it hasn't hit my box yet.
Yeah, and I even had to, but I personally mailed it to people in the Wardsville area that we have a listing for. and they were delivered to Dutton's post office last Friday.
I know I got mail yesterday, but it was not part of the stack.
And there was one other question. There was a report on Service Ontario. The last sentence there didn't get completed, so I just wondered how many.
Oh, I never did get the number from Kathy. I believe they figure there's approximately 350,000 people with, that have to update. Yeah, in the whole province of Ontario, sorry. Yeah, approximately 350,000 outstanding transactions. So we anticipate being fairly busy.
Other questions on the report?
30,000.
30,000? Okay, sorry, she's at 300,000.
Oh, 30,000 altogether
Outstanding transactions.
in the province.
No, 5.2 million in the entire province.
30,000 in our area.
30,000 transactions per terminal. Basically, that's what we want.
They have till February.
Our allocated number for the next 6 months was allocated at 4,664 transactions.
They figure we'll do next month.
And she, on Monday, Tuesday, she can do 20 appointments. But she can serve 20 customers on Monday, Tuesday, and 18 on it's,
Through the chair, we're talking the Service Ontario. Could we not extend it by 1 day until there's a catch-up system? Like,
We have to
I'm
renegotiate.
getting so, I don't get that many inquiries from the public, but I do about service. And a lot of them saying, what the heck's going on? Apart from saying, well, go to McNaughton's then. I think if we could open just one extra day a week, it might, satisfy a lot of people more.
So our contract with Service Ontario ends at the end of the year, at the end of the calendar year. They provided us with temporary permission to open Service Ontario office on reduced hours. We have to reapply again for 2022 if council wishes to extend Service Ontario hours. Now for 2022.
But are we not to finish 2021? I mean, through
Well, I would suggest
COVID,
with-
it's brought this situation about. So I would imagine they could make an instant decision to get rid of that problem.
I'm pretty sure they can allow us to longer hours. But again,
And I'm sure Kathy would probably go along with it. I mean, I can't speak for her, obviously. Does Kathy have available appointments most days?
yes. Mostly we get 10 appointments pre-booked, which is on the website. She is booked solid by the end of the day. So
Yeah, every day,
every day.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
She's able to process between 20 to 30.
So she has 12 pre-booked today.
So
For her birthday.
usually there are appointments available. I know I had a discussion with somebody that was all over me about, not being able to get in the Service Ontario, need an appointment. I said, well, why don't you call this number? And we did. Pressed one button on the phone, and you got a hold of Kathy. That was at 10 after 10, and his appointment was 10:50. When you hung up the phone, I just don't get much better than that. I've made 2 appointments, and I ring 8:30, and then she'll say, yeah, 2:30 then, or whenever. I've had no problems, but I do know that a lot of people saying, oh my goodness, I can't get in.
Through the chair, some of the feedback I'm getting is because people don't like the appointment system and they want to be able to just go at their
And
convenience
open the door.
and do it. But I also know on the other hand of that, I've also heard feedback from people because they're having to stand in line at some of these other centers that aren't taking appointments and wait for hours. So I don't know what the right solution, I guess, is. If someone doesn't want to make an appointment, there are alternative MTO offices in a close range for them to go to if they don't want to make an appointment. I myself prefer to know I have a set time and I can go and walk in and out. So I think the mayor is correct. You're not going to please everybody, but if Kathy's not booked solid days in advance and you can't service them on the same day, I think it's the appointment just in the schedule yet. If it gets to that point, absolutely, I'm more than happy to say we need to add another day and provide our residents the service they want. But right now, it doesn't seem to be. And some of those things, can you mail in renewals or do online?
Yes, we can still do
So you can still offer online renewals, which,
If we haven't got a problem, I'm fine with that.
yeah,
Well, these times, you don't know if you got a problem or not. No.
Well, the reality is this way, nobody is standing outside in the beating sun or the freezing cold or the rain, because we are only legally allowed 2 people in our lobby.
And that's the situation with our office, is, hopefully through the renovation process, that we're gonna have maybe more room in our office to allow more people in and make it a lot better all the way around. But the way it stands right now, with those 2 people, you're standing out in that hot sun in front of the fire hall, waiting to get in. I'd rather have an appointment and be able to walk right in the door and get it done.
And Kathy can only say one person at a time.
Yesterday, we had people that walked up and they may have had to wait 5 minutes, but they didn't have an appointment and hadn't called first, and she still fit them in, and she does most days. Rarely does she turn anyone away.
I guess. Have I read the recommendation?
Yeah, just that you received the report.
We need a mover and second for it. Pellier and Rowe, all in favor? That is carried. Next item up. Hey,
This is your
I'm
turn.
on the right one.
Now you're on the right one. Yeah.
National Day of Truth and Recreation,
Yes,
reconciliation.
yes,
Oops.
so at the last council meeting, council has asked staff to come up with ideas on how we can celebrate and commemorate this new holiday. I know that Jenna has been involved in it, and she has plans for the upcoming celebration. So the celebration will take place in front of the arena. The full celebration will be in front of the arena with opening prayer, reading of land acknowledgement, welcome the traditional territory by for band council members. They're invited as well.
We're hoping to, we're going to invite.
And ask the mayor or the council members to provide some history of that holiday, as well as raising the child violence flag. And we're asking, we have approached Elgin County librarian to perhaps come up with children's story. We are planning on inviting public schools, local elementary schools to this celebration as well. So the plans are that for West Elgin, in Spotty of West Elgin, that celebration is planned for 10 a.m. in Westbourne, and after that, Dublin Dunwich will be having their own celebration in Dublin on Wednesday.
Dutton, Dunwich and I are working together to do this in hopes that it would save time for the band council to go and move through it. I know, Julie Gonu from the council had reached out saying too that other municipalities may be interested in what we're doing and sharing. So that's small and I from Dutton, Dunwich. Are willing to share once our council approves what we are planning. Council's approve it.
Okay, questions on the process? Very satisfied. We got a quick response back from
From Moravian Town, yeah.
Moravian Town.
Yeah.
Just within a matter of days.
Yeah, so I had written a land acknowledgement a while ago, mailed it to them. And I think it got lost in the shuffle, so we ended up the mayor had gotten an email address and we emailed their version of the CAO. And got an instant response, and it is on their agenda for the 21st to review our land acknowledgement. It's just protocol basically in respect that you get them to the closest Indigenous group to agree with it. And it would help me to understand how to pronounce some of the words.
We read the land acknowledgement every time for our town. Every meeting.
We'll start reading it and having it on our website and agenda when it's approved.
So you make sure you get the word for it. Some questions for me, there is. Ressa?
Through the chair, I think this sounds great to acknowledge and the reconciliation for this day on the 30th of September. And when we get the land acknowledgement, like the clerk was saying, say it before every council meeting. Also wondering if you have an opening prayer and drumming, do you have an idea where you would have it?
So we'll do it at the location of the flag raising. That's the idea.
Okay. Okay.
Dunwich, after their unfortunate tornado, may have to change some of their idea, but I was not bothering them about that yesterday.
Yeah, of course. Okay, and I was thinking more also, is there some sort of, we have a lot of Indigenous people within our two villages or many villages here within West Elgin. I wondered if in the future we could look at maybe putting like when the libraries open up a little more, when hopefully COVID makes our lives a new normal, putting some sort of display or something in there. If we could approach the county to do something like that, were my thoughts. But yeah, it sounds great. I would support this. It sounds like a great start to what we can do for September 30th to reflect upon what's gone on and for that date.
Also, just to, the province announced last night that they will not, as of this year, be making it a statutory holiday.
Yes, I saw that. Okay. So it's just for federal employees, correct?
Statutory holiday, our province chose not to do it this year.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
And that land acknowledgement will also be put up in all of our buildings.
Hey.
Yeah, so I agree that the recommendations for the observances sound really good. I did have a question about a land acknowledgement, so I'm glad that's underway. Are we addressing the second recommendation with regard to the statutory holiday for staff?
So it is, we recommend not to have additional staff holiday this year, as this came very late. And the timing of it is not ideal, as we are getting ready for office renovations pending council's approval. That's my next big vote. So it would basically the cost, there would be additional cost for number one, staff we would have to bring staff to work as September 1st is the date when we have the hours of our municipal office. And then
that's kind of what my thought was going to be, but I felt that likely this is something again that the county could give us a lead on rather than us making a decision each individually. So I'm not sure where they're at with that, but just pass on that we think it's their discretion to have first. And yeah, so that being said, and the fact that the cost to us would be $3,000 if we did offer that stat holiday, I thought that perhaps as an alternative, in order to increase the value of this day, that we could offer some of that money to a local Aboriginal Friendship Center, and or it would be really nice if staff had an orange t-shirt to wear on that day at work. So I don't know how quickly we could have that happen, but
we're planning on wearing orange shirts. They're not going to be the same. Find their own own in their own closet. We were not planning on purchasing them. But as far as donation, there is money left over. Council rent. We can certainly.
I mean, it's something to pursue. We can ask the local, Marine town if they have a friendship center that they need something, or it's just another way for us to recognize that we value in this day.
So through the chair, Council Rose said pretty much what I was thinking, but I realize that that is the day that you need to go to the municipal office, but I would, if possible, like to see a full attendance of as many staff as possible during our ceremony. Other than obviously essential services that need to be maintained during that time, but I think that everybody needs to pause for the hour and be fully present in the moment. So I would like to encourage that as much as possible. So.
Okay. Just on the 30th of September.
So would you like me to read the recommendation?
Yeah, go
So I
ahead.
know I can't.
West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Magda Badura, CIO Treasurer, read National Date for Truth and Reconciliation Observance, and that West Elgin Council hereby directs staff to fly the Every Child Matters flag on municipal flagpoles where able on September 30th and for 3 days after the national holiday annually in acknowledgement of the National Truth and Reconciliation, and that an acknowledgement ceremony take place at 10 a.m. on Thursday, September 30th, 2021 at the West Elgin Community Center in West Lawrence.
Mover and seconder. Moved by Rowe, seconded by Tellier, all in favor? That is carried. Okay, we're gonna move on to committee and board reports.
Oh, no, municipal office renovations, sir.
Okay. Oh, wait,
Addition.
oh, that's the issue. Okay,
Sorry, it was.
yeah, okay, no, you're right.
Yeah, so we're at the point where we're asking council's direction and approval proceed with municipal office renovations. The lowest tender that came in is in the amount of $526,000 taxes. In my financial expectations, don't have this one, we didn't have enough available funds to proceed with this project. We had set aside $200,000 for reserve. We allocated $20,000 for plus access. We are getting grant ICAP for resiliency in the amount of $100,000, and we're also getting a grant for accessibility in the amount of $71,709. We have also allocated proceeds from the sale of land in the amount of $146,611. So the total funds available that we have for this project are $538,220. The estimated cost of the entire project is at this point is at $606,000. That gives us a shortfall of $75,680. And my recommendation is to reallocate the money that we have transferred to reserves for municipal building renovations, and allocate that money towards our municipal office, and the rest of the remaining $25,680 come out of operating budget, as we have never replaced
So through the chair, knowing that construction doesn't always go according to plan, what kind of contingency cushion is in that 606?
I believe the contingency was set at 50%. So that's $526,000 over the month.
So the municipal building transfer to reserves, where's that, and how's it coming from?
So it's coming out of municipal buildings and reserves. So every year, we allocate $50,000 towards municipal building renovations. So currently, I believe there's $200,000. Instead of allocating that $50,000 to reserves, my recommendation is to put towards, instead of allocating it to reserves, to spend it on.
Oh.
municipal building.
That makes sense. Good. So what you're saying, we can accomplish what needs to be accomplished, and there's been nothing done since the building since amalgamation back in
98,
98, no.
what was it before that? 98 was amalgamation.
Yeah,
We can't find any renovations on that building in any of our records.
yeah, it was, see, when it was purchased in 86, yeah, so I know that there was work. It probably was work that was done back in the 80s. Because it was like that prior to amalgamation. So I guess, like anything, it's been 40 some odd years, probably time to do the renovations. Certainly for our staff, but there's no option, I don't think, other than going ahead with this. That's what.
Through the chair, so if we move ahead with this, can you tell me what the next step is for staff?
So some of our office and staff members will be working from home, just like we did. We're gonna have skeleton crew working out of recreation center, small room. We're gonna have service material in one municipal employee. Working out of that location, we will also have spare desks available for employees that need to access. Need to come to the office, need access to the computer for the staff, so there's going to be desks, spare desks available. I know that building inspector council and the officer prefers to work from the office as he requires access to the printer. Third, mental and finance staff, majority of the finance staff will be working.
The one thing we will lose is the Dropbox. It was on the tax insert. We will not have a Dropbox.
What's wrong with the rec center? Is that what you have been running? What about time cards?
They're at the school.
Is there a big chore? People are used to the Dropbox. Is there a big chore to relocate the Dropbox into?
There's no way we can move it because we have to put a hole
In the wall.
in the wall
Right,
at the rec center and leave a hole in the wall at the old office.
yeah, but can we not put a temporary Dropbox in, say, to?
We have to cut into the outside of the rec center.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily be at the
I was
rec
thinking of a
center.
mailbox.
Can it continue on at the municipal office and staff?
No, because we're not allowed in the building due to asbestos abatement.
And they're removing non-drywall installation out.
Chair, what about those Dropbox, like the mail, the library has a Dropbox outside that you can take books? Is there one that you can get that is more secure, or though it's not perfect, that could be put outside the rec center? Not something.
I can certainly look into. Doctor,
I think that's a well-used
concerns.
feature, is it not? I guess that's a question for you guys. How often is that used?
It is being used,
Yeah.
daily, a lot. So,
Can you ask the county if they have a spare book box somewhere?
My word is that secure enough to pin it.
That's what I'm wondering.
Oh, screw, you know, that's the crown.
We can see, we'll investigate it.
I was, my next step was to talk to general contractor and kind of talk to him to if there is a way of minimizing downtime from accessing job loss. There's gonna be a certain time period where there will be the blocks and that block loss, like maybe once they move on with the topic.
There is a notice on the tax bill that says it won't be available because we did realize that just before we sent them out, but.
No. This is some type of, or even being that they won't let municipal employees, it's just some kind of arrangement to make with the contractors that we will take the contents out of the box and give it to a municipal employee on a daily basis. I mean, investigate that. I mean, the last.
We're definitely.
It's gonna be, you might not always be able to be on site.
the only one up there.
Teresa,
They have those metal boxes that are vertical. They look just like a mailbox with it closes and locks and has a slot. So that could be an option as well. Now, someone could take the whole box away, but likelihood of them doing it on a busier street like Queen, where the rec center is less likely. But it's vertical, it's metal, it's weatherproof, everything. It has a slot, and then you just open it with a key in the morning or in the evening, whenever you need to, and you retrieve the mail. That might be an option.
I guess my suggestion would be, let's, if you can leave that with staff, we'll speak with the general contractor as soon as we have our initial on-site meetings. The only time it's gonna be an issue is gonna be during the removal process, the demolition. When it's abatement, they have to do a type 3, which means that everything's gonna be sealed off and they have to put negative pressure to draw anything out. So in that case, if we could make some kind of an arrangement with the general contractor that once a day that gets put into a banquet box or something, or that, you know, hands it directly to us. Outside of that, once the abatement is finished, once the demolition is done, then I don't see a reason why staff couldn't access that drop box once a day to remove that stuff.
There is one on Amazon that we could possibly buy that's wall mounted. Yeah, we can look into it.
so we're trying to solve a problem that might not be a problem.
There we go.
So we'll turn it back over to staff and they can figure it out. They know that we have a concern, so we'll let them see what they can come up with. Okay, anything else other than you need
I'll read the resolution for you, sir.
all right,
The West Dublin Council hereby receives the report from M. Badura, CIO Treasurer, Municipal Office Renovations, and that West Elgin Council hereby awards the contract for the municipal office renovations to Elgin Contracting and Restoration Limited for a total of $526,000 plus applicable taxes, and that West Elgin Council hereby authorizes the mayor and CIO Treasurer to execute any contracts and documents with regards to this project, and that West Elgin Council hereby directs funds from the 2021 operating budget to cover the shortfall.
okay, you've all heard the recommendation, mover and seconder. Moved by Teresa, seconded by Angela, all in favor, and that is carried. All right, we're gonna move on now to committee and board reports. Everybody okay? Don't need a break? Good.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna take a little break before we go into the final step here.
5 minutes.
How long of a break are we taking?
5 minutes.
Okay.
See, Bonnie, I see you sitting on the edge of your chair.
I'm kind of.
tell them all what.
Okay, we're back, so.
Okay, council reports from committee. Report on.
Yeah.
Any committee that anyone has to report on?
We're gonna put an admin board.
Okay.
That's what we're gonna do.
Oh, trust.
No really committee report, just that the Oldborough Rodney Fair is having a parade on September 18th at 11 a.m. And there's the contact information to participate if you need, I can get that to you. So ATVs, old tractors, anything that normally be in a parade, and it starts at the fairgrounds.
Cool. We're putting a float in. What day is that? 18th?
Fish cleaning station on the 18th.
The 18th, what time?
2 p.m.
Oh, yeah, parade will be over by then.
Yes, and I did speak to the secretary of the fair board, and he believes that they are having a lunch afterwards, correct, Tressa? They're serving out of the rec center, and they're hoping for maybe some live entertainment, but either way, they're hoping it'll all be done, so everybody will then go to the fish cleaning station. Grand opening.
Arena board, you want to lead us through that, Lee, or do you want me to, or how you want to do it?
I'll let you start.
Okay.
I'll fill the gaps.
We had an arena board meeting yesterday. We sat down and listened to the user groups, which i.e. the figure skating group, minor hockey. And Emily did fill us in on the other groups that are looking at renting our facility. And the main reason for the meeting was because of the fact that as a municipal building, we are going to have to monitor those individuals coming into the building to ensure that they're double vaxxed. So in discussions with the user groups, minor hockey is aware of the fact that anyone over the age of 12 will need to provide proof. As comfortable with it as they can be, I think they're recognizing the fact that that's just the way it's going to be. Same with the figure skating. They recognize that that's going to be the rules. So that being said, when we took a look at the number of hours that we could utilize the facility, it seemed that the logical step was to instruct staff to install the ice in the marina for this next coming season. Only downside of it is that as it is a municipal building, we'll be responsible for ensuring that there is someone at the door that's going to monitor and check to make sure that everyone is double vaxxed. And that's going to be an additional cost to the operation of the facility for this year. We talked a little bit about getting a student to do it. But the reality of it is, I think that we need someone maybe a little bit more mature and a little bit more comfortable at the door, because you know, and I know that there are going to be people that are going to take objection to that. And so you need somebody to be able to handle those situations. Questions? Yeah.
What's the financial implication?
Well,
No.
we don't know. It's one of those things that if you're going to have the facility open, which I think, we've taken a lot of things away from kids, and I think that the more normal we can provide things, the better it will be. And the representative from Dutton Dunwich was in agreement that this is probably the best way forward. If it costs us the money it costs. Lee, did I leave anything up?
No, I don't believe so. I think that covers it.
Question, Mike?
I just wondered if there was some discussion about the minor hockey and figure skating executive getting documentation from the kids that are registered and their parents that will be coming in, so that that doesn't have to be checked every time we come through, and they can just show their ID and
I
if
think
they're on the
the,
list, then away they go.
Yeah,
I mentioned a solution to that.
Yeah, I think that was one of the ideas that we had come up with, was to possibly try and just create a database that our staff could keep, that we would just have that listing. So once they've done that once, provided that group that their name could go down. So it's just a matter of.
I have concerns on that. Sorry.
Confidentiality of the data.
Yes, so it has to be very secure and each person has to sign a waiver that we are keeping their data.
Once the passport system comes out,
Exactly, but that's their choice whether they show it or not. Sorry, we have to make sure that they're comfortable that we're keeping it. That's my only concern. And OMJ is required that each player and volunteer submit that. I just want you to be aware that.
yeah, that's fine, but that doesn't, it's still our responsibility as the owner of the facility to track that.
No,
The user groups can't do that on our behalf.
no, I just be careful. You've got to make sure people understand we're keeping that data. That's my one concern.
And I think the discussions that we had yesterday was turning this back over to staff to make sure that whatever system that they can or cannot set up is legally the right way to do it. So we didn't have that answer yesterday, just some ideas, and I think we can come back and talk to our people here to see that whatever we do is going to work, and it's the way
Some
it
sort
should
of
be.
consent with that statement on it, that they can sign as they supply their information.
That would be what they have to be aware that we're keeping it. That's my only, other than that, that's.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, and this is applicable to the school, ice rentals, and
Everyone.
everybody. Public skating.
Yeah, we're reaching out, we're trying to get, of course, it's the old thing, right? They put out the notice. We don't have any regulations yet on it. So basically, all we have to go by right now is that facilities used for sports and fitness activities and personal fitness training, such as gyms, fitness, and recreational facilities, with the exception of youth recreational sport. So, every recreational facility has youth recreational sport in it.
But they also have.
But it says right off the bat, facilities used for sports and fitness activities.
So the clarification I got from MPP was
So,
yes, kids under 12 don't count, but
right,
anyone else
so
does.
anybody, yeah. So youth entering the facility obviously are not required because they're not entitled to having a shot. But anybody else entering the facility has to be double vaxxed.
And so that's the arena, I really was talking with the arena, that's the arena, the rec center, and when the renovations are done, at the skill hall.
Correct.
That
Because it does cover meeting and event spaces.
In this room, obviously.
So the reality is any user group that wants to rent, i.e. the Fair Board, some staff member will have to check every member of the Fair Board when they come into a meeting. So that will be something you guys might need to consider about people using our facilities for meetings. Kiwanis, that sort of stuff, after hours, because we'll have to pay a staff member.
When we go into budget, which I know we're doing shortly, I would be curious to know what the budgetary implications are when we waive fees and charges that are going to have a levy from these new regulations. And I don't know how you will figure that out, and I don't want to make it overly complicated, but if all of a sudden now we have all this extra staff time that we wouldn't have like house before, that has financial implications to everybody.
Yes and no. Last year, we received a grant funding from the province, $72,000. It's the Safe Restart funding. That money can only be used for, to deal with pandemic. So at this point, we have approximately $140,000 left. So the cost of employing part-time person for the arena will be covered by that funding. So there is funds available and there will be no financial implication. And that money has to be used by the end of this year.
What about the rest?
Rec center, anything, any COVID related expenses can be applied towards that funding.
So I would suggest that the staff could create some sort of a consent form that we can use, because if we have community groups coming in to use a meeting room and so forth, it'd be much easier to be able to just say, you need to complete this and sign it if you want to come to the meeting. And I don't know whether we need to visualize the documents as far as vaccination, or whether we take their word for it. I don't know.
We have to, because you have to you have to prove ID, you have to show photo ID with. the information stuff.
So each person that's, not representative from the municipality at those meetings would be responsible for that, or how is that?
I'm an employee. So which means we have to start sending employees and paying staff to, so the question is, do we consider a volunteer firefighter or something like that, staff member for that reason?
Or volunteer firefighters.
Yeah, so it's, yeah.
As long as they got the 2 vaccinations.
Yeah, we'll get it on back.
So they're not gonna be able to come to their
Fire hall.
meeting.
No.
I don't know about you guys, but through this whole pandemic, right from the very first meeting we had, I think this is the most problematic discussion that we've done.
I just want to clarify that that's all municipal buildings, so no, in our fire halls, they have to be vaccinated.
To meeting and event spaces, so, no, I don't know,
The fire halls have meeting rooms.
and they're attending as a staff.
Yeah,
That's a
they're attending that,
As a
they're
staff.
attending that as an employee.
So I don't understand.
It's like we talked about earlier, that the employees working in the arena don't necessarily have to have their vaccination. It's the people coming into that space. So firemen meeting at a meeting room would be employees meeting together at a workplace.
Okay.
Obviously, if they had somebody, if they had an event and had people coming into that event, they'd have to be vaccinated. But as far as we're looking at right now, the major ones are gonna be the arena, the recreation center, the scout hall, once it's completed, if there's user groups using that, that's meeting space.
So knowing Halloween is coming and that the station does, as in the past, both stations have in the past, done some type of Halloween activity, that these will apply for that.
No.
I would
Or
say
do it
not.
outside,
I would
yeah.
say
Do it
not.
outside and be kind of towards outside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless the kid's under 12,
Well,
don't have
that's
to,
what I mean.
but the parent has to.
The parent has to have it.
So,
Like, holy moly.
It's more gonna be like so Monday night, or Tuesday night, Emily and I both attended a meeting with the Kiwanis and some other representatives from the community. They wanted to want to do a night market. So we attended that meeting. Now Emily and I are there, and in future, when we have those meetings, one of the two of us we both volunteered our time to do it. We will have to.
It only applies to high risk indoor public settings, so they're, well, I should say very specific, but restaurants and bars, nightclubs, meeting and event spaces such as banquet halls and convention centers, facilities used for sports and fitness activities, sporting events, casinos, bingo halls, gaming establishments, concerts, music festivals, theaters and cinemas, strip clubs and racing venues is what this applies to right now. So I would say Halloween gathering that's being put on would not fall under one of those categories.
I think the issue is going to be the groups moving, and then like it's dropping pickleball, someone will have to be staffed. That's, I guess, what we're trying to work out right now.
Well, like always, I guess we'll just have to feel ourselves along here. Any other reports for committee? All right, any notice of motion? Seeing none, any announcements from councilors? Seeing none, any matters of urgency? Seeing none, next item, recommendation accounts that the mayor and treasurer are hereby authorized to sign payment voucher number 9 amounting to $768,546.27 in settlement of general road, water, and arena accounts. Mover and second, moved by Rowe, seconded by Beetham. We've got the money.
We do.
All in favor? That is carried. Correspondence, City of Hamilton noise concerns, what's your pleasure?
Not really an issue for us, I don't think. Complaints about construction noise after hours.
Draft resolution for National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, I guess we've talked that all already.
You want to pass the resolution that's supplied by Avo, or are you comfortable with just our information?
I think just another thing for you to do, so unless somebody wants to support it. I think we're good doing.
I think what we feel is best. So.
Yeah, I think we're doing what we do. Annual proof of vaccination, I guess we discussed that, and we're going to follow the county's guidance. Roll with that.
Would you like me to read the bylaws, sir?
Why not?
So bylaw 2021-50, amending agreement for the fire training officer and CEMC with County of Elgin. The bylaw 2021-51 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between the corporation of the County of Elgin and the corporation of the municipality of West Elgin for training off fire officer, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Cameron, seconded by Talia. All in favor? And that is carried.
Confirming bylaw. The bylaw 2021-52 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council held on September 9th, 2021, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Mover and seconder, moved by Rowe, seconded by Latham. All in favor? That is carried.
Okay, so we're at adjournment. You ready for that, sir?
I think, are we all done the business today? Looks like we are. Recommendation of the council of the municipality of West Elgin hereby adjourns at 11:56. To meet again at 9:30 on September 23rd or at the call of the sheriff. Over and seconder. Moved by Cameron, seconded by Talia. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. A whole hour before my next meeting.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.